The Solar Podcast is brought to you by Continental Energy Solutions. I'm your host, Tim Montague. Today, disrupting and dominating rooftop solar racking. Today, my guest is Costa Nicolaou, the CEO of PanelClaw. PanelClaw is a well-known rooftop racking solution in the commercial solar space. They are now enjoying a second rise in domination of this market with the release of clawFR, which we've started to use here at Continental this summer, and we happen to love that product. But welcome to the show, Nico. Sorry, welcome to the show, Costa.
We'll answer to both. Thanks, Tim. It's great hearing your voice again and seeing you.
I often confuse you with Nico. That there's something about this Costa and Nico thing.
Nico's your competitor, right?
Well, yes, he's my frenemy.
Patriot.
So, most people think of solar racking as a fairly mundane industry. And honestly, the approach that most manufacturers take is mundane. I get, Chinese manufacturers reach out to me all the time. Hey, we've got this racking solution, check it out. And I'm like, hey, I don't care. I need a solution that makes my life easier, makes my installation faster, and at the end of the day, makes the cost of energy cheaper. What do you say to that?
I say you've got a good start, but you're missing one big piece, which is it's got to stay on the roof for 25 plus years. And that's what differentiates suppliers of true racking solutions with bent metal suppliers. It's easy to bend metal and say, I'm going to grab onto this panel and it's going to be easy and cheap. It's really difficult to deliver that, and we've been saying this for years, while still having a product that lasts 25 years and it's easy to permit, it's easy to maintain, etc.
Yeah, permitting is a big one, and the structural engineering is another big one.
Absolutely.
And, that is one of the things that we like about the FR is the matrix, and we'll show some photos of the product later on, but basically you're laying out a steel matrix on the roof and it's very light. You require less ballast with this approach because then the array becomes a ballast in and of itself, right?
Yes. And it's also flexible. There have been grid systems all the way back to the original Sunlink product many years ago. But the challenge with grid systems or rail-based designs had always been that every single roof is wavy. There's no such thing as a flat roof. So those grid systems are viewed as highly inflexible and almost impossible to install on some roofs.
Yes.
We cracked that nut with clawFR by making it also flexible, which hasn't been done by anyone else yet.
Yeah, if you haven't been on a large commercial roof, they make the roof in little triangles, basically. They want the water to shed off of the sections and then shed to the edges or to the drains, right?
That's
and
right.
These are very large. I mean, some of these rooftops are 10 plus acres. They're ginormous.
We love those.
Yep, so do we. And, this summer we're installing a portfolio of Walmarts. We installed a portfolio of Targets last year, and we're known in the Chicago area and in the Midwest for installing the largest rooftop array at Mag & Glove and in Romeoville, which is in the Chicago suburbs. That's a 3.4 megawatt rooftop array. It's almost 15 acres.
That will be eclipsed soon, we hope.
Absolutely. Well, in Illinois, we have a 2 megawatt limit for behind the meter solar, which is 2 megawatts AC, so 2.9 megawatts DC, typically, something like that. In Maggid's case, they transcended that with 2 tax IDs under one rooftop, so they could go all out after 100% offset.
Sure.
But let's step back for a second, Costa. Tell us how you got interested in renewable energy and how you, have grown PanelClaw.
Well, I'll keep that story short because it's somewhat well known in the industry, but it was just the case of having a beer at a bar with a friend. Before solar, I was in the consulting sector at a company called Market Metrics for almost 8 years. I wasn't looking for a job. I was very happy with what I was doing, making lots of money. And then I went out for drinks with a college roommate, or a bunch of college friends, one of which was my college roommate, Will Thompson. And he floated this idea of a concept that his co-founder had come up with of a racking solution that had 3 components, 2 nuts and bolts, I knew nothing about racking. I didn't know what the word meant, didn't know anything about solar. I thought it was water heating. But the idea of building a company around the concept was appealing to me. So I went home that night, did research until 4 in the morning, and decided that switching industries is what I was going to do if that opportunity was there. 13 years later, that was in 2007, 13 years later, we are the market leader by far in the commercial flat roof sector, but we're not yet dominant. I define domination as 60, 70, 80% market share. And this year we'll be very close to that, but not quite there. So never looked back, and had a lot of fun along the way with some very, very good and motivated people in the sector.
So I guess that really brings up the question of how have you achieved that growth, and tell us about the transition from and excuse me, I can't remember the name of the previous product.
Polar Bear.
Polar Bear, yes. We have Polar Bear on our roof at Continental in Oak Brook.
So do many people.
Yep. And the word hate has been used quite a few times with that product among the people involved in that installation.
Yeah.
And this was before my time. So when it took me quite a bit of work to bring PanelClaw back into Continental, I kicked and screamed. And when the FR came out though, and I immediately went from the conference room downstairs with that one bolt that you have, right?
I still have it on my desk.
And I walked upstairs and I walked in to Brian's office and I said, we need to look at this. Well, and it just happened that, that is, and we want to drill down a little bit on that, because it only means something to those who have put hands on the FR, but that was a transformative event for us. Yeah. And then also when C2 Energy Capital switched from, I think, DCE to PanelClaw FR on this very large portfolio of projects that we're working with them on, that gave it the street cred, right? And away we go.
Yeah, so if you want the history behind what happened there, Polar Bear is actually a brand name. We actually developed roughly 7 iterations of flat roof racking products encompassing 4 platforms before clawFR. And the original Polar Bear was a 3-component 2-nut and bolt system. And you talk about this as a second coming of PanelClaw. You're right. We're going back to our roots with clawFR. When PanelClaw was launched, a 3-component 2-nut and bolt system became instantly the industry standard. And we rose very, very, very quickly in installations because everything else out there was hated by installers. They were erector sets. It was like building a nuclear power plant to install a solar panel. And here we were with a Polar Bear 3-component 2-nut and bolt system. We launched a Grizzly Bear product after that with integrated ballast, and that was even more loved than our original Polar Bear. We continued to take off and rise. And then we got dumb. PanelClaw decided that we were so good and so smart that we were gonna do really cool things in the ground mount space. We were gonna enter with a completely different solution that nobody had seen before, and we were gonna take over the ground mount sector too. Well, we failed. In the middle of failing with our Sun Bear ground mount product, we also took our eye off the ball a little bit on flat roof development because we were busy developing a ground mount. That ground mount cost us about $3 million to develop and $4 million to exit. Product only lived for about 6 months. And in order to stay alive as a company, we knew that the Polar Bear and Grizzly Bear products that we had for flat roof they were coming to the end of their cost curve, meaning our ability to lower price was no longer there without basically squeezing us out of existence on margin. So we very quickly developed Polar Bear 3. And what happened when we launched that product was that we went from having the undisputed installation lead with the Polar Bear 1 and 2 and Grizzly Bear, nobody was even close to us, to being average on installation. Products from companies like DCE and Unirac were right up there in equilibrium. Some people would say ours was faster, some people would say theirs was faster, and there was no clear definitive winner. in the flat roof space for speed of installation, that one specific metric. Well, that's changed with clawFR. We've taken that lead by far again. We addressed wire management, single bolt, and we can go through some of those features later. But that's a little bit of the history. The Polar Bear brand was excellent. It went to average, and now we're in the clawFR brand with the unequivocal, undisputed lead on installed and lifecycle cost.
Yep. I want
Agree?
to, sorry?
Do you agree?
Well, as far as I know, okay, and I'm just one guy. We're one installer here in Illinois. Illinois was a greenfield. Now it's a fast, growing solar market. Riding the solar coaster, nonetheless. We are about to have a downturn, hopefully not too long, but
Yeah.
but yes, I mean it's funny. We have done a lot of EcoFoot. We've done a fair amount of Unirac. We've done a lot of DCE. And our first DCE installation, for example, we hated it. But after getting more experience with it, we saw the light and started to like it a lot. And it was very fast, and the installers liked it. So, cost is one thing, and there is tremendous downward pressure, as you know, on the price of the materials. And but so now we're getting some real legs with FR, and the word on the street in the field is that it's a very fast, robust, likable product. It's not perfect. The one thing that we've heard is the wire management. Those
needs to be improved.
Those clips or clamps, whatever you call them, aren't quite large enough to hold all of the wires.
Yes. Stay tuned.
There's some things that of course, you're going to continue to evolve that over time. The other unique thing that we also really care about, honestly, is that you're an American-made product. We have nothing against foreign-made products, and we use them all the time. I mean, look at solar panels. The vast majority of solar panels are made in Asia, and that's the way it is. The United States didn't invest in that clean room technology, and Asia dominates. There are some exceptions. SunPower, and we're a SunPower dealer, First Solar with their thin film, but made in America goes a long way. And in this case, parts of it at least are made in Illinois. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the supply chain.
Absolutely. And first on wire management, we love your feedback, by the way. Continental Electric gave us a lot of really good feedback for how to improve wire management, as did C2 and many other customers, partners of ours. So we will have something new for you for clawFR on the wire management front. We see it as one of the last holy grails of that platform to make that even better. And then on the American-made front, it's very simple for us. Look, we have a very sophisticated supply chain and operations team, the best in flat roof racking. We care about where we make the product and where jobs are created, and we also care about the economics. So we've looked at overseas, and what happens with flat roof racking is, look, it's expensive to transport bent metal over long distances. So depending on your ratio of material to conversion cost, it may or may not make sense to make it overseas. For the clawFR platform, we've done something that has not been done by anyone else in the flat roof sector on the manufacturing side. And that's how you got to this single bolt. We have taken all the work of tightening nuts away from the field and put it into the factory with really high automation. I mean, in the preview to this, you asked me who some of my heroes are outside of solar and inside of solar. And one of them is Jack Welch of GE. He passed away earlier this year, but one of the things he did for GE to bring manufacturing back to the United States was combat cheap labor with very high automation. And that's what PanelClaw has done in flat roof for the clawFR platform. We're able to cost effectively manufacture it in Illinois and upstate New York with a significant amount of automation, and automation that drives down cost in the field. So win-win-win. Win for US jobs in manufacturing, win for PanelClaw on cost effectiveness, win for our partners on installation and O&M. Also, those products that are made in an automated way, it's much easier to control quality of the parts than if you're using humans to assemble parts. So we achieved many things in this platform, which we're really, really proud of, but we're not done yet.
No, you're not. And we're going to get to the clawOS that I'm so excited to hear about. It's interesting. I heard Elon Musk say recently that he thinks he can make automobile manufacturing 100 to 1,000 times more efficient. That is eye-popping, right? Because here we have an industry that's over 100 years old, and he's claiming that it's ripe for disruption still to this day. And that is one of the things.
And I agree.
I do too.
I agree completely.
I do too. Now that I've thought a little more about it and learned more about how Tesla approaches the development of factories, right? And every factory is a whole new evolution, basically. It's a whole new product.
Yeah.
And they're actually becoming an engine of innovation in manufacturing as well. They're branching out into biotech.
Yeah.
Of course, they're known in the battery space. They are making batteries now, making solar panels, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I like to say that Tesla is not a car company.
Yeah.
And most people just do not grok that at all.
Well, and PanelClaw is not a racking company. I get upset when people call us a racking provider. We're a solar company. We're firmly invested in DG and lowering the cost of flat roof solar. And our mission is to accelerate the adoption of flat roof PV worldwide. And we know how to do that. You must lower the cost of that electron so that it competes and takes policy eventually completely out of the equation by making it so cheap that it's impossible to select another source of electrons. And you have to do that while allowing our partners to deliver a reliable electron, right? When the light switch gets turned on, the lights always go on instantly, right? Reliability. And that is a lot more than just bending metal. The racking is the power plant, if you will, that holds the solar panel, which is the fuel. So you got to have power plants that last 25 plus years. That's your racking right there. Very difficult to achieve if you're constantly driving down cost. Bending metal is easy. Easy to install is easy. I can give you a 2-component system tomorrow if you wanted. Wouldn't stay on the roof for more than 5 days. So a lot of stuff goes into it. Don't call us a racking company. We are a company in the flat roof solar sector, and we love it.
Yep. I love it. That is a very unique value proposition, honestly, for a what I will still refer to as a racking company. Okay, so
fine.
Forgive me, but when you look at your product line, and I'm going to share my screen again here.
Sure.
So here's the product line: the clawFR 10 degree, clawFR 5 degree, clawFR dual tilt, and then wire management accessories. And then you have some great little videos. I showed a clip from one of those. I don't know if you want to say any more about the components, and you have emphasized several times the 25-year lifespan, and that touches on the other aspect of rooftop solar, and that is that you're putting a power plant up there for 25 years. And what that means is the roof needs to be in good condition to begin with. And then whatever you're putting on top of the roof has to not damage the roof or shorten the lifespan of the roof. I make the argument that because the solar panels are virtually blanketing the roof should actually last quite a bit longer because it's not getting beaten down by all of that UV radiation primarily, but also, the weather.
Yeah.
So durability, though, from a durability perspective, tell us a little bit about that. How do you approach that?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the uniqueness of the platform and then talk about the roof itself and durability. So on the uniqueness, one of the things that we've been able to achieve with clawFR that other racking providers to date have not been able to achieve is typically when you offer a 5 degree, a 10 degree, and a dual tilt product, other racking companies have a separate platform for each of those offerings. For example, Unirac has the RM platform for 5 degree and dual tilt. And then they have a different product, which they call RM10, but it's a completely different product for their 10 degree. tilt. We have been able to achieve a universal platform, right? A platform where you can do 5, 10, and dual tilt using the same base components or very similar looking base components. The wind deflector has to get shorter for 5 degree, but it's the same designed wind deflector. That helps installers who one day might be installing a 5 degree, the next day might be installing a dual tilt, and the next day might be installing a 10 degree on a particular roof. So that is incredibly difficult to achieve because the geometries are tough. That's unique about clawFR. Now talking a little bit about the roof, our products have 3 missions in life, okay? And this is really, really important. The first mission is don't harm the roof or anything below it, because the racking is the interface between the roof and the panel. So don't harm the roof or anything below it. Number 2, which is not often talked about, but really, really important for a racking solution to do, don't impact the panel's ability to produce electrons over 25 years. You can't negatively impact that. The really, really smart developers know that this could be a killer, absolute killer of the cost of the electron. And then the third one is hang on to that panel for dear life for 25 years under all conditions, right?
Yes.
And people usually say wind tunnel tested and UL 2703, they check the boxes and they think that's enough on that one. There's a lot more to it than that, I promise you. So those are our 3 missions in life as far as the bent metal piece. And when you think about that, those 3 missions, it's not simple. It's really, really complex. And there are a lot of trade-offs between those. So it keeps my job fun for the past 13 years and the next 13 after that.
Panels do fly off rooftops. We were doing O&M on a courthouse in downtown Chicago where there was a downburst, right? So this is a brief high velocity wind event, and it blew some of the array off the roof. Luckily, nobody was injured when those panels landed on the ground. It was not an installation that we were involved in. We were just involved in repairing it and then making sure that the array was functioning properly. So,
hey Tim, can I mention something on that real quick?
Yeah.
Not once in my 13-year career at PanelClaw has anyone reported that a panel that was mounted with our product came off a roof.
Wow.
Not once. And this includes the 20,000 or so solar panels that were installed in Puerto Rico during Irma and Maria. Category 4 landfall in Puerto Rico, 20,000 panels. Not a single report of one panel detaching and going off the roof that was mounted with our product over any of our products over the life of our products. It should speak to the quality of our engineering and how much it matters to us.
Hence the name, the claw.
You got it. So I interrupted you, but this is really something that we're very passionate about. Cheap racking and easy to install racking, almost anybody can do that. Make it last 25 years, don't harm the roof or anything below it, don't impact the panel's ability to produce electrons over 25 years, and still hang on for dear life. Really, really, really hard to do.
Yeah, agreed. Should we talk about clawOS?
Absolutely. I've been unfortunately publicly talking about it for a year, but as it turns out, software is a little bit more difficult than we initially thought. So our goal was to have launched it at the end of last year, but we will be releasing it now at the end of this year to our partners, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, you know, I recently did an interview with Nextracker, and one of the things that emerged in that conversation is that they are very much an IT company as well as a manufacturer, and they're very much into this Internet of Things and you know, intelligent, in this case, tracking, right? Because the environment is very dynamic on a solar field.
Yes.
So tell us about clawOS. What is it, and how is it going to improve my life? So
copy paste those statements that Nextracker made, ditto on our end. We are now transforming to an Internet of Things software company as well. So clawOS is a cloud-based software platform that is not focusing on what all the other flat roof software cloud-based products out there are doing, which is the slapping panels on the roof part, the design part, and the bill of materials part. I let you place the panels on the roof, and I give you a bill of materials, maybe even with a price, and off you are and running. And maybe you have 1 or 2 pager on calculations or drawing. That is not enough, nowhere near enough. What really matters and what can really drive down cost and get you excited is that we are now with clawOS going to allow our partners to do exactly what my team has been doing for you for the past 13 years on your own, much more easily, and getting the exact same deliverable initially as you gotten from my team. The construction set with all the pages required for permitting, the calculations package with all the calculations needed for permitting and for third-party engineering review, everything that you've gotten from my team will be turned into a process that's this simple. Instead of sending us a project intake form or sending us an AutoCAD layout or a helioscope drawing, you're going to upload that drawing or that layout to clawOS, the cloud. Once you're done uploading, you upload your module cut sheet. That's just so we make sure we're using the right panel. When you're done with that, you answer the questions that you would have answered in the project intake form, push a button, and you get your entire bill of materials, your entire full complete engineering, not a summary 2-pager, the real deal, something you can take over and get a stamp on and submit to your permitting department. And the calculations that your engineering firm would need to review in order to make sure everything was okay. So that will come out of clawOS. We have many other things that we have planned post-launch for what you will be able to do inside of the clawOS platform. And we were really excited to see the SGF investments announcement of their investment in Terra-based energy earlier this year, because we have a similar mission, this week. TerraGen's mission is to take the cost of a utility scale electron to under a penny per kilowatt hour. We want to do the same thing for a flat roof electron, never mind utility scale. And we think software development and integration with platforms like Helioscope and Aurora is going to be absolutely critical to that. So we're blazing the trail. If you think of the current software products out there that other racking companies have, the analogy will be those are Camrys, we're delivering a Ferrari with clawOS.
I like it, and it resonates. Okay, if it really works and it works in different AHJs, I guess that's one of your challenges, right? Is
Yeah,
the rules are different in different places, even
that's
within...
when no one else has done it. One of the reasons no one else has done it. It's really hard.
Yeah, tell me about that. How do you
Yeah.
gather that information, and I'm sure that information is dynamic as well, right? It's
Yeah.
changing.
So you're exactly right, Tim. And so let me make it really simple. My team has been using this tool for 13 years internally. All we had to do was, because we've had to deliver a construction set, a permit package for 13 years for our partners, right? We were doing this, sending them to you or your customers. All we've done is taken all that knowledge, coded it, and put it on the cloud with a user interface initially. That's what we've done. So you should see no different deliverable from what you've been used to getting within 2 to 7 days, depending on how busy we are from my team. You'll be able to get those in minutes. So we're taking that time value of money for designing, redesigning, and that uncertainty of, I don't know if my system is going to have attachments, how heavy it's going to be. I'm waiting for PanelClaw or racking company XYZ to deliver this set back to me so I can really know what the engineering is going to be. You're going to be able to get those answers on your own instantly. The other thing that it does is introduces transparency. Racking companies for years have been very good at saying in the initial bid phase, my system's going to be really light and it's not going to have any roof attachments. And then when you get to final engineering, the system is heavy with many attachments, but they've already won the project. Well, that changes with clawOS. You're going to be getting the answers yourself. You don't have to rely on anything that the racking company says. So those little things are transformative in the sector. The last piece for clawOS is the maximum size of a single roof array. Right now, for a lot of these platforms, is quite small. 50 kW, 100 kW, maybe a couple of them can handle a megawatt. We've run 5, 6, 7 megawatt single roofs through clawOS, and the thing doesn't even blink. It just executes and delivers your construction set, permit package, bill of materials. Pretty awesome.
Tell me a little more about that service. Software as a service is what you're talking about, basically, right?
Yeah.
Is that just included, or is there a subscription fee or something like that?
We're working on that model right now. Our goal is to eventually cover our cost of running and maintaining the platform, but right now it's going to be offered for free.
Because you are effectively becoming a software company.
We already are.
Yep. And you have to maintain that product, and that costs money.
It does.
So,
It does. So look, this is not something that we're going to go out there and try to make money off of. This is not a helioscope or an Aurora energy management platform. Our mission, again, is to accelerate the adoption of flat roof PV worldwide. We see this as a major enabler in lowering the cost of that kilowatt hour of a flat roof installed solar array. And we're going to do everything in our power to make that accessible to our partners in a way that doesn't increase the cost of that electron. It has to lower it. Everything that we've done for 13 years has had that mindset behind it. Lower the cost of an electron without sacrificing the 25+ year life of the system. Really hard stuff. And actually, that's one of the reasons that we do nothing but flat roof. My company doesn't have a tracker. We don't have a ground mount. We don't have a residential system. Because if you're really going to drive down cost, if you're really going to mean what you say, it takes a lot of effort and a ton of focus to do it right. And that's what we've done for 13 years, and that's what we'll keep doing.
I want to harken back to the roof a little bit and solar panels. Solar panels are getting increasingly large. The physical dimensions of the panels is growing. All of the major panel manufacturers are coming out with 500, 600, now even pushing 800-watt modules.
Yes.
And the physical dimensions, one of the modules I was looking at, I'm not sure if it was JA, I think it was JA, it was more than 5 feet wide and 7 feet long.
Yeah.
And I think that the module makers should settle on a 4x8 because that's the size of a sheet of plywood. But I'm just one guy, and what do I know? But how does your system respond to increasing panel size?
Yeah, well, let's get to what's behind it first. So back in 2010, I remember seeing a solar panel that came our way that was literally the size of a garage door, of a standard garage door. Panel size is not really, in the flat roof space, not really a driver, different than ground mount, okay? But in the flat roof space, you're handling these things on a roof with wind blowing, where there is a life and safety issue or concern of the people handling those panels. On the ground, you know, if a panel blows over, somebody falls on the dirt and they're okay. On a roof, panel blows over while you're holding it, you can have a person come off the roof or really get hurt. So large panels on the roof are not something that installers typically want to handle. And that's been true for many, many years. The second challenge on the roof is you're typically playing Tetris. There are vent pipes. On the ground, you can cut down a stub. You can relocate a tree. You can level the ground. On a roof, what you got's what you got. You can't move a vent pipe cost effectively. You can't move an elevator penthouse on a roof very easily. So you have to place the panels in work or a skylight in the case of the many Walmarts you've built, right? You can't easily move, you can't move them. So you got to play Tetris to try to fit as many panels. Bigger panels don't let you play Tetris on a roof as well, right? The bigger the form factor, the harder it is to play Tetris on a roof to maximize how many panels you fit on the roof.
For sure.
So the holy grail for rooftop products is not the size of the panel, adding a row of cells, adding a column of cells. It's increasing the efficiency of the panels or the output you're getting from that panel. That's the holy grail. So I'm not excited about the companies that are just adding a row and adding a column. I'm more excited about the companies that are looking at the electron production per square foot of that panel. And I think ultimately that trend will win out over make panels bigger. On roofs, on the ground, not so much. By the way, same is true for residential roofs, right? If you look at the residential sector, if a panel is the size of a garage door, you can fit maybe one panel on the roof. If you're playing Tetris, you might be able to fit more electrons on that residential roof. And ultimately, that's what the residential homeowner wants, especially when you have electric cars coming in to the fold as mainstream. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm not as concerned. Having said that, we see the trend. clawFR can accommodate it. We can accommodate a much wider range with clawFR than any rail solution out there without changing our parts. So from that perspective, totally fine for now.
Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of a 4x8 panel, so that doesn't give you any grief.
I just don't think that we're going to see mass adoption on rooftop projects of very large panels. And if we do, clawFR it will be ready for it.
I mean, they're already 4x6, so
Yeah, not
or
much more.
3.5x6. So
Yeah.
4x8 is not a big delta. I mean,
Currently,
of course,
clawFR accommodates panels up to 2,200 millimeters in length. Okay, so pretty wide range, and we're looking at increasing that.
yeah.
The width, we go up to, I think, 1,100 millimeters on width, and we're looking at more. But again, it's coming. We know it's coming. We have a very close relationship with the module manufacturers, so we're actually talking to those engineers, so we know what's coming next. We don't wait until they announce a panel. We
Mm-hmm.
typically know in advance, so we have
Mm-hmm.
time to evolve the clawFR platform for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think developers will bite in flat roof because you won't be able to fit as many panels with the gigantic ones as you would with a standard
Yeah.
current panel size.
Yeah, there will continue to be a spectrum of sizes, and I agree with you that the efficiency is critical, and of course that is ticking up. Where 23% is not is no longer extraordinary.
Right.
Now there are physical limits. I think a little around 30%, 33% is is a is a limit that probably won't be transcended by semiconductor technology. There may be some other technology, of course. There's lots of R&D in that space, and
There
I
is.
don't doubt that there's much disruption ahead of us. Let's talk more about the big picture. Who are your aspirational peers in solar and outside of solar?
Well, outside of solar, Jack Welch by far, he did so much to transform manufacturing and bring it back to the United States with the concept of an automated factory to compete against low labor costs, but also the way that he thought about human capital and management in terms of teams versus a leader that tells everybody what to do and doesn't listen. The types of organizations that GE built were just truly amazing and inspirational. In terms of inside of solar, I look for folks that share the same vision that I do, and that's that distributed generation is the future of global energy production. It has benefits far beyond what we have around the world today. And those are folks like Elon Musk, like Tom Werner over at SunPower, that really want to drive distributed generation to the next level. And also folks that don't see conventional norms as the future. People that are looking to disrupt. We're not going to get there just by continuing to do what we've done over the past 40 years in solar, or just even the past year, or even the past 6 months. That clearly isn't enough, because if it were, we would have had solar everywhere already as mainstream globally, and we're not there yet. So this mentality of continued disruption, this mentality of distributed generation is the future, is one that I share and my team shares, and folks like Elon and Tom Werner, to just name a couple, are inspirational to us.
I'm thinking about building integrated solar. That is one of those holy grails that is still quite elusive. We've done some, awnings, some onesie twosie small projects that are considered building integrated, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? And does that change up your business model at all?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely that would. If all of a sudden the panels were integrated into the building, there really is no need for racking. If that can be done cost effectively to drive distributed generation, I'm all for it. I would love to transition my business to something else if that proves to be the way to grow DG exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's the way today. There are a significant number of limitations as it pertains to flat roofs and how electrons are produced via conventional methods today. They have to be tilted to increase production. You typically don't want your roof to be at 10 degrees, spacing and shading. But that's not to say that it won't happen. Do I see it happening in the near future? No. Is it possible in 10, 15, 20 years? Absolutely, and I hope so. One of the places that we can look for incentives to drive building integrated PV is France. The incentives in France were highly geared for commercial buildings to have building integrated PV. never took off because the technology just didn't add up cost effectively. You had to incentivize it way too much to make it worth it. So it's clearly not there yet today. And bifacials, by the way, are not the answer to building integrated either. They're not even close to the answer today for commercial flat roofs.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are very excited about bifacial, and it's intriguing to me, and I think it makes sense for ground mount if you have high albedo, like in the desert Southwest. But I'm not completely sold on bifacial either. Although maybe it'll just become a thing because there's a small delta in price.
Well, because of the Section 201 exemption, right? Tariff exemption. So that's what creates that small delta on price, which basically makes the extra electron production almost not required in order to make the bifacial cost effective today. So I think that's the hoopla around it today in applications other than ground mount, where, by the way, Nextracker has done a ton of research and has actual data on how bifacials perform on the ground with trackers, which is awesome, right? In God we trust. Everyone else bring data, right? We have the same mentality. We like to bring data to the table. So there's not enough data on flat roofs yet, but we're trying to collect some with our partners now.
Yep. So what do you say to solar developers, solar installers? What do you see in their mindset that you think needs to evolve?
That's a very broad question. On the flat roof mounting solution side, I think there's still way too much focus on price and installation cost, and not enough focus on O&M, life cycle cost, and reliability. And the codes and standards are not enough to protect those that aren't looking at it from catastrophic failures. So for that, we will be releasing a pamphlet publicly at SPI with critical elements that providers should be looking at in selecting their flat roof racking. And we're going to put a bullseye on things that have to be done that aren't being done by everyone today. In terms of the industry, the Solar Energy Industry Association, I chair the manufacturing division of the Solar Energy Industry Association, and I also serve on the board of SEA. We just released a white paper on US manufacturing and how we can grow it. US manufacturing for renewables, beyond just solar panels. I think that's exciting. There are definitely policy incentives that we can implement in the US to both incentivize manufacturing for domestic consumption and make those companies that build factories for renewable energy products here be able to compete on a global scale, meaning export. That is sort of the holy grail. It's easy to incentivize manufacturing for domestic consumption because you don't care. You can just throw money at it. Product doesn't have to be competitive. It just needs to be competitive against what's coming in. Doesn't have to be able to compete with what's coming in that's also being sold outside of the US. That's really hard to do. But it could be important depending on what type of philosophy we have at the White House for domestic manufacturing. So we released this white paper this week. It's available on SEA's website, and it's our initial thoughts that will help drive some of the policy positions that we will put forth to help incentivize US manufacturing in the years to come, because we will need it. The solar global market is going to continue to take off. We will need more capacity of all components in solar and renewables in general, wind, storage, etc. And there's an opportunity for our country to play a significant role, both for the domestic market and for the global markets in the manufacturing of goods. So that's really, really exciting on my side.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes. So thanks for sharing that.
I just released this week.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're almost out of time. Costa, I really appreciate your time. I want to just let our viewers know that they can find all of these podcasts at cesnrg.com. Check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, hit that bell. I'm Tim Montague, your host. Let's grow solar. And thank you, Costa Nicolaou with PanelClaw, for a wonderful interview.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for all that you do, and keep it up. It's really fun to see.